On today's show, our final show ever.
Maybe.
Of all time.
Maybe.
Never coming back.
Maybe.
We count down the top 10. Yes, you heard it right. The very top 10 best of the best hip-hop records of the decade. My name's Feliciano Segundo, and joining me is the player 1 to my player 2.
Chris Maitland, and this is the podcast where two violent hand stalkers come together to talk about hip hop.
Yeah, finally a correct tagline
Yes.
for our very last show.
I could have thrown Massachusetts in there too, but hey.
You could have. I think by now everyone knows that we're from Massachusetts. But anyway,
I don't know.
It's been a great run. These past 3 years have been very fun, and I am very sad to give it up. Chris, you got anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, it still really doesn't hit me. It probably won't hit me for another couple weeks.
Okay.
This may or may not be the last episode. I mean, there's no guarantee that we're done for good, but we're definitely in the interim. We're done.
In the interim, yeah.
And who knows what can happen down the line?
Who knows? You never know.
Who knows?
Could be back in.
But yeah, no. I mean, I'm just glad that the universe brought us together, and I'm glad that you, as I've said many times on this podcast, this is your child. I've just helped you rear it. And I'm glad that you gave me that opportunity to help rear your child.
Thank you.
I mean, it was a bad decision. I mean, for your baby.
I would say
your
so.
baby's all sorts of fucked up. But I appreciate that you let me have that influence on its life.
Yeah. What do you think our baby is going to be after this? Where's it going to end up?
Prison.
Okay, fair enough.
At best.
Well, without further on that lovely note, let's count it down. We are counting down our top 10 best albums of the decade, and I'm going to go ahead and start it off.
I know what you're thinking. Like, hey, it's 2019, of course. 2019, it's not over yet. No, you're right, but also there's no more hip hop albums coming out in 2019, so it's done.
This is the last
I mean, clearly,
one.
Obviously, we're doing. I mean, like, since this might be the last episode, I mean, this is an episode we would have done anyways if we were sticking around, so we might as well do it. It's a fitting way to end it.
I would say so.
An hour of takes on the albums that were the most special to us during this decade, and hopefully, I mean, these lists might end up standing.
Who knows? They could change tomorrow.
In the next 6 months.
Personally, I can tell you that it took me all day yesterday to rack my brain around what order I wanted everything to go in.
Yeah.
But I think I have it as closest to what I feel the most comfortable leaving it as.
Yeah, no, for me, yeah, I mean, it took me a couple hours to sort everything out, but it wasn't super difficult for me to narrow down.
Okay.
But do you have, before we start, do you have any honorable mentions?
I have a couple honorable mentions because a lot of stuff didn't quite make the list. Some stuff did make the list, and then I had to end up just pulling it out. So I have a couple of albums like Take Care, even though I hated that album at first. We obviously did the review of it last year, and I've come to appreciate it for the monument it is in hip-hop, as far as the legacy that is left. Albums like that I'm not entirely a huge fan of, but I can respect it. The Run the Jewels trilogy is another one that, I mean, Run the Jewels 1 was in my list up until yesterday when I just had to take it out for one more other thing. And then The Heights by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, which is a huge surprise probably to a lot of other people because a lot of people do not like Macklemore or Ryan Lewis to this day.
No, but I know you were a big fan of especially the early stuff, so that's not a huge shocker to me.
I have no idea how that album became so successful because for me personally, I know the history of like how they ended up like before they became famous and like the rocket strap that went on them and the trajectory of their careers has just gone to the sky since then. But that's what. And
then it's kind of petered off.
Yeah, it's kind of
it's come back down to earth.
But it's one of those albums that I'm just like, dang, I can't believe like. I had no idea that an album talking about like shopping at a thrift store would get this big, and it's also just a really well-produced album.
For sure, no, it's a nice record. I mean, it's not a record that I absolutely love, but it's a nice record. There's some nice introspective stuff on there, some nice pop rap songs. It's a nice little record.
Yep. Birds in the Trap, Same Night was almost on there, and then two albums that I love to death, but I could not include it, and it breaks my heart because traditionally, we are a hip hop podcast. We want to stick to traditional hip hop,
yes.
But Frank Ocean's. His freshman and sophomore projects, his releases, both Channel Orange and Blonde, are albums that I love to death.
Oh, yeah.
And I really wanted to include at least one of them, if not both. But unfortunately, I had to take it out. I mean, if we're talking top 10 albums like of any genre, they're probably going to be in there. But yeah, any honorable mentions?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the five. I'll tell you the five that just missed the cut. For me, I mean, like again, if we were to include R&B albums, I probably would have put House of Balloons by The Weeknd. I mean, that album made a huge fucking impression on me. But for all the honorable mentions that I did have, the five that just missed the cut for me were in no particular order: are Taboo by Denzel Curry, Run the Jewels 1, Triple X by Danny Brown, Rodeo by Travis Scott 2, and of course, it wouldn't be my list without one trap honorable mention. That would be No Label 2 by the good old Migos.
I love them. Gotta love them. I knew they had to be a Migos album. No Future, huh?
Nope.
Oh, that's.
I mean, if you were to go down, if we were to do like top 25, top 50,
yeah,
that's when the like
Purple Rain.
That's when all the Purple Rain is my least favorite Future project.
What about
Evil would probably make an appearance
Hendrix
further down the line. No. Hendrix is more of an R&B project. Anyways.
Okay, Pluto. Honest.
No. I would say you'd probably see on a full list from me. You'd probably like top 100 list of hip hop albums for this decade. You'd probably see Evil. You'd probably see self-titled.
Okay.
It's probably about it. For future projects, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
You'd see like the Jeffries of the world would start coming into play if it was the top 50 list.
Yeah.
The I Am Greater Than I Was, more Migos, the YRNs and YRN2s of the world.
Fair enough. Maybe.
That's probably the one thing you probably the one that Birth of the Trap Sick Midnight obviously would be up there.
Not All Heroes Wear Capes.
Oh, it would be up there. Oh yeah, if it was top 50, that would 100% be on the list.
Okay. All right, so
that's probably the one thing. The one thing that people might be surprised by is there might not be as many trap lists.
KOD at all? Maybe Kamikaze?
Of course.
Crash Talk? Any of that?
In? No, those are actually my top 3. So thanks for spoiling it.
Oh
asshole.
shit, I'm sorry.
But all right, but without further ado, let's go ahead
and start it off. I'll start off with my number 10. This is the last one, or the second to last one that made it in, and that is my favorite Drake album. To this day, nothing was the same. Like I said, Take Care, huge album. Personally, this is my favorite Drake album. There's not a single record on here that I do not like, and that is saying a lot because I can tell you, if I had 4 hands, I can tell you how many songs I cannot stand from this artist. He's disappointed me on numerous occasions. But 2013, with this release, this was the album I think that personally made Drake who he is today.
Really?
Yeah.
Over Take Care?
I think over Take Care. Yeah, I think Take Care for me. Was his if Thank Me Later was his launching pad, and Take Care was what kept him in the game, I think Nothing Was the Same was what cemented him as a legend in hip hop. Personally,
fair enough.
Songs that personally come to mind, some of my favorites. It has one of my favorites intro that's ever been put on a hip hop record this entire decade with Tuscan Leather. The way that
Tuscan Leather is so fucking good.
Oh my god, the way that first it's like in 3 parts. Like the beats comes in the first part, and then like that you hear a little click, and then it flips backwards.
Yeah.
The beat starts playing in reverse, and somehow Drake makes it work. I don't know how. And then he flips it forward again in the third part and just like brings the tempo down a little bit.
You know how he did it?
Fantastic.
Little thing called Six Magic.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Six Magic. No, oh god. But yeah, and then I love that album.
Kawhi Leonard.
Favorite album cover right here. Favorite Drake album cover is what I should say. Nothing Was the Same. You know, I doubt that. Never mind. I won't go there. I was gonna go into. I doubt if that's an accurate portrait of what Drake looked like when he was younger, but we won't go there.
Debatable.
Yeah, I don't want to go into colorism or anything like that on our last show, so we'll keep that.
Well, I mean, hey.
Keep that to the audience.
We've almost been kicked off LCT before, so why not get us kicked off for good on the last episode?
Drake is not that black. I said it. No, yeah, but so that's my number 10, and then you also have really hard. Some of the best songwriting I think comes from this album. Personally, I think Drake really infused his poet's side, and it wasn't too preachy. There's a song on here called what is it? It's the one about his Too Much with Sampha, where he's just, talking about how much everybody in his family is, going off in their separate ways, including his uncle. He mentions at one point, and how his uncle feels like he's too old to do stuff, and Drake kind of, there's a bunch of great songwriting all over this.
From Time is a beautiful song.
From Time is another great one. Started From the Bottom, which I hated at first.
I still hate that song.
Now I've come around to it. I don't know how that happened. But it's a great album when a song like that has come around and become one of my favorite Drake songs. But
yeah, I'd say it's definitely an album that you cherish if that's that shit's come around for you.
There we go.
All right, yeah. So my number 10 is a little album called Yeezus by Kanye West.
Oh yeah.
Now this is a record like you.
Are you sure we're not doing worst albums of the decade?
It's obviously everything Kanye's put out after My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy has been particularly divisive. Yeah. This very well could be the most divisive of the lot. It's either this or Life of Pablo in terms of divisiveness.
Yeah.
But this record has a special place in my heart for a couple reasons. A, it made me reevaluate Kanye West as an artist. Up to this point, 21-year-old Chris Maitland hated Kanye West prior to saw a little performance on SNL perform Black Skinhead, and I was like,
iconic.
Wow.
Yeah,
this might be really fucking great. I'm like, this is really fucking great. And then the album came out. I remember the album leaked. on Friday night. I had to wake up mad early to go to New Hampshire to go to my uncle's house. I stayed up. I just got back from a movie at like 12 a.m. I stayed up. This album leaked. I listened to it at midnight that night. Went to bed. I didn't go to bed at like 2 a.m. because I was just like in awe of this record. But by the time I finished up the album and like taking a shower and whatever, I went to bed at like 2 a.m. just because I was basking in the aura of this fucking album. But I mean, the reason that this record is so special to me, in addition to the fact that maybe then it was a springboard for me to reevaluate the rest of Kanye's discography, and I found the joys of College Dropout and Late Registration by Dark Twisted Fantasy, etc. But this album I think is especially great because I think it's probably the best portrayal of Kanye West's larger-than-life persona. I mean, this album is just a goddamn... It's so fucking over the top, just in terms of the lyrics and the delivery. And, like, there's nothing more, like, that just, like, heightened the ego of Kanye West and, like, his larger-than-life personality than crazy electro house beats. Wow. I mean, like, basically all the, like, the most abrasive, grimy, god-awful types of European techno. And it's just Kanye yelling for 50 minutes, pretty much.
And you love every second of it.
And it's tremendous, yeah. Basically, and obviously as a metalhead, the abrasiveness of the album appealed to me. And it's just a really special, chaotic, wild record.
I think a lot of people would agree with you.
Oh no, they would not. I mean, a lot of people view this as obviously it has a following.
It has a huge following.
It has, like every Kanye. Like, Kanye is like, he's such a celebrated artist. Like, you're gonna find like every one of his albums is gonna have a cult following.
Right.
And I think that every single record of his, you're gonna find a fair amount of people that think it's his best.
You know how a lot of people will talk to you about, when when you meet a new person, a lot of icebreakers out there will be like, a good icebreaker will be like, what's your favorite movie? Or I mean, even 100, 200 years ago, it would probably be, what's your favorite, I don't know, Jackson Pollock painting?
Yeah.
Something like that. What's your favorite Picasso painting?
What Beethoven symphony
is your favorite, right? Yeah. I personally, and this is without a joke, I'm being dead serious here. I feel like nowadays, you could, at least with people our age, 20s and 30s, you can go up to somebody, even younger, teenagers, you can go up to somebody and know exactly what kind of person they are just by asking what their favorite Kanye album is. Isn't that insane?
I mean, that's
ask them, what's your favorite Kanye album and why?
So you're either going to get an answer or someone's going to tell you that Kanye is an asshole and go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's probably what you're going to get. Assuming that they are a Kanye West fan, I mean, I maybe want a prerequisite by asking them if they are, and if the answer is yes, then they are.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't just come on and say like, oh, hello, person I just met.
Right.
What's your favorite Kanye West album?
Right. It's no more.
How do you do? My name's Chris. Oh, yes. Okay, great. Nice to meet you. Insert person.
I imagine.
What's your favorite Kanye West album?
Oh, it's.
Yeah, I'm not gonna come out. But if I was talking about the hippity hop, Kanye West came up. Yeah, I mean that could springboard into a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, gone are the days where you ask people between David and the Sistine Chapel. Now it's between Late Registration and Ye.
Yes.
Or Yeezus and other albums, which we'll get to. Anything else you want to say before we move on to number 8?
No, I think pretty much number 9. You're going to get ahead of yourself, pal.
There you go. All right, cool. Well, then let's move on to number 9. My number 9 album. And like I said, man, I kept moving around because personally, I didn't know if I wanted to add this one on there or take it off. But Because the Internet by Childish Gambino, Donald Glover's best album. Go ahead and come at me.
I'm going to entirely agree with you.
Yeah, it's the best album. What are you going to say about it? It's a story from the perspective of a sad man living in the internet stage of history, in the internet era. This album has spawned countless memes. I don't know what else I can really say about it. It's incredibly eclectic. Some of Donald's best singing comes from this album, personally.
Pink Toes, baby.
Pink Toes with Jhené Aiko, which is such a sweet ballad right there. I was going to use that water for later, but that's all right.
Fuck you.
No, you can go ahead and take it.
No.
The album starts off with Crawl, which we're talking about abrasiveness from Yeezus. I mean,
Crawl's great.
Crawl doesn't get any more abrasive than Crawl. And also,
I don't know about that, but it's pretty abrasive.
It gets pretty insane. You got Little John sampling Little John in your first song on the album.
I honestly didn't know this Little John sample on that.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, just up and down the.
What's the new everyday kids?
Up and down, it's an incredible piece of work. I think that Donald Glover came out with an album where just around the time where you didn't think he had anything else left in him, because this was coming off of him leaving Community. Camp wasn't received well by critics. No one really knew if he could put out a well-acclaimed record. He was just starting off, getting into movies and writing, and he hadn't really shown what he didn't really flex his talent all the way.
He hadn't even appeared in Magic Mike XXL.
Exactly. None of that. None of that had come out yet.
No singing.
The to-do list. I don't know if that had come out yet. I don't know.
I think it honestly had.
Okay. I don't know. We're getting down into
because the internet came out in 2013. No, the to-do list came out in 2013.
Okay.
And this came out in December. I remember that vividly. It came out at a time when like no other records were out.
Yeah, it's also a very depressing album. Just when you look into like the lore that he's built around himself as an artist. Now there's this character of the boy that has gone on to establish who Donald Glover is as a person. Yeah, incredible. And I also got to hear it before anybody else. But anyway.
Wasn't there a screenplay associated with this record?
There was also a screenplay for it. It didn't exactly fare too well with me, but definitely gives a lot of more backing. So I think a lot of other artists should maybe look into maybe not necessarily writing a screenplay, but some sort of literary companionship. Yeah, companionship to their artwork nowadays. But yeah, okay, let's go on to yours.
Nice touch. Yeah, nice
Thank
touch.
you.
So you're telling me that it took a little bit for him to eventually evolve into the guy that wrote Atlanta.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's
all right, so yeah, my number 9 is To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar.
Woo! All right. So happy.
I mean,
it's a little too low though. I gotta be honest with you. It's a little too low.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it's a great album. I mean, I don't want to shit on the record because like the reason that it's not higher is basically there's just not as many great songs on it. I shouldn't clarify that. There's not as many songs. Again, like you're making me shit on an album that I put as my 9th best album.
That's what it sounds like.
There's not as many songs on here. I'm trying to think of a way to put this without shitting on the album. This is hard.
Yeah, I don't know how you can shit on it. This album's a fucking masterpiece.
Basically, there is a higher. The record's higher on this list. There's a higher volumes of song that I really, really cherish on that record opposed to this one.
Okay.
That's why. But the album, I mean, it's Kendrick's most political album, and it's his most diverse album from a musical standpoint.
It's black as fuck.
It is. I mean, the album title, from the way he put it, the album, I mean, again, I'm not one to, like, clearly the resonance of this album is obviously going to go over my head. I really don't need to explain why. But the record, to me, the album it's called To Pimp a Butterfly because basically the album explores, like, the various ways that black people have been exploited. Exactly. Whether it be from the government or by themselves or whatever through gangs and blah, 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 blah. Again, I'm not going to wax poetic about the album because that's not the main reason I like the album so much. But I mean, to me, I think that the record. But one thing that is cool about the album is because it is such a proud, unabashed black album. It uses various genres of music that are synonymous with the black culture, and that allows it to put together the most dynamic album from a musical standpoint that he ever put out. And it also, as a result, it also features my favorite fucking song by him, Wesley's Theory. I mean, that goddamn bass line, the George Clinton intro, just a fucking beautiful, beautiful song. It's got a really fucking poignant message behind it, but it's also just a fucking great, funky ass song.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's a great album. There's it's not. I mean, obviously, of the 2 Kendrick Lamar albums that are really, really, really put on a pedestal, I like the other one more. I'm not going to say which one it is because it may or may not be making an appearance later. Actually, I should clarify that it is making an appearance later.
Okay.
But this is a really fucking good album, and this is
How about the album cover?
It's something. No, but again,
look at that dead judge right there. Yeah. Look at that dead judge. He don't know what's going on.
I mean, hopefully I won't stumble over as much of my fucking words, because again, it's too late. I already sound like a complete fucking moron.
That's all right, Gad.
Good Lord. No, I'm saying hopefully the next fucking 8 albums go a lot smoother than that. Jesus Christ.
We're going to move on to my number 8 pick, and that's going to be Kids See Ghosts by Kanye West and Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi came out in the late 2000s. He was an artist that took me a while to come to understand who is this Kid Cudi. Why do people love him so much? Why is he whining all the time? Why is he bitching and moaning on every single song? That first Man on the Moon album.
Why does he want to be a ghost?
That first Man on the Moon album was one of my worst albums of that year.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a big Cudi fan?
And now I love it. Yeah. I love that album.
Okay, so yeah,
and
so he grew on you eventually.
Oh, he grew on me. And you know that this type of talent needed to come from somebody who was trained by the one and only Kanye West. Because Kanye West took Cudi under his wing, and we had never seen them come together and, I guess, utilize the best of both of their respective talents. Other than, single songs that they've done together, like I know Cudi and Kanye have done songs on Cudi's album, Erase Me, which is a full-blown rock song, if you ask me. I mean, you never knew that they could do a soft rock song. It is. It's a rock song.
It has a guitar on it. I wouldn't really call it a rock song.
It's a rock. There are drums in rock.
Yeah.
They're singing. That's a rock song. And there's a rap verse at the end. Big deal.
No.
But then,
Cuddy had a little dabble with rock that was a little less successful than racing.
oh, you don't want to talk.
Speed bullet to heaven.
We don't have to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. That
That's
doesn't
my
exist.
number one.
Doesn't
Actually.
exist.
Spoiler,
No, but
my number one album of the decade.
No.
bullet to heaven.
No. Ignore that. No. Okay, no. But Kids See Ghosts, personally, as somebody who has struggled with mental health all his life and anxiety and depression, we know those are all huge buzzwords now. But there are people that really deal with it, and I think that they built such a great sonic landscape to portray what they were going through at that time. I know in an interview, Kid Cudi one time told Arsenio Hall that he just wanted to make music for suicidal kids so that they can feel a little less lonely in the world. And that's definitely what this album did for me. Kanye West, on the other hand, is someone who has obviously been labeled as a crazy person, as an insane genius. A lot of times that's what we used to describe him as. But on this album, it definitely feels like he's pouring that creativity into something positive. And it was great to see two of my favorite artists collaborate on an album that can be put on at any time, personally. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it was cool to see Kanye West put out a coherent project too.
In
2018, that was pretty wild.
Isn't that insane?
He had a really bad run there in 2018, half-assed things, but but at least one of the projects sounded cohesive.
There we go.
And finished.
So congrats. You want to move on to your pick?
Yeah. So my number 8, a little bit different on the scale. You have a nice, somber, yet optimistic album.
Mm-hmm.
I just have one that's completely fucking grimy and god awful. Big Fish Theory by Vince Staples. Vince Staples is a rapper that I've admired for quite some time.
Yep.
But so his
look at that. Reborn's playing.
His preceding album.
That just came out of nowhere. But good.
No, it was trying to bring some optimism into the room.
There we go. Big Fish Theory.
Which
was your best? It was your best album of 2017.
It was my number one album of 2017. But so Summertime 06 came out in 2015. Great album, but it suffered from the usual double album problems where it was too fucking long. It was just a little bit too bloated, and it prevented it from. It was a very good album, but it prevented it from being truly great.
A little overly ambitious for Vince Staples.
Yeah, just in terms of it was just too long. It was just padded. That was the problem, and that's the problem when you get to a certain length that often becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Now Big Fish Theory was Vince is like okay. That 1 hour long, 20, almost 30 track double album, it was a little too long. How about we scale it back, do 11, 12 tracks, 35 minutes, and it's just a goddamn concise punch to the fucking face. That's what this record is. And the marriage between Vince Staples, just aggressive. Vince is a very angry guy. He's very his raps are usually just full of rage. Mm-hmm. And the marriage between his just the cold world that he came from and the cynical perspective he has. And again, another appearance from grimy house music, from European house music, like a hip house. So he made a hip house hip house album.
Hip house album.
Yeah, it's a little hybrid between the house music of the UK,
all right.
UK bass, if you will.
Yeah.
And the good old hip hop. So that is just a perfect marriage. Good Lord, this record, and it's I've heard it God knows how many times now, and just every time I listen to it, I'm just like, wow, this album is so fucking angry, and it is a fucking freight train, and it doesn't stop. It's just 11 tracks of just pure boop, 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 boop. It's a goddamn freight train of rage. It's a goddamn freight train of rage, and Vince has since made a couple projects that are not that great. Mm-hmm. So I hope that he goes back to his makes it obviously Vince is a very experimental artist. He's going to continue to take risks. But at least just make an album that's concise like this. Vince.
But why is it that this album, which you said was a freight, you described it as a freight train.
Yes.
There are other albums that you would say are just as insane as this album. Mm-hmm. What is it about this album that you think stands out when you compare it to those albums?
Compared to, are you talking about other artists or just
by other artists, yeah.
I mean, it's the consistency because just having something hit consistent, hard throughout. There are times there are records that hit hard for a little bit, mm-hmm. but then that shit subsides.
Okay.
I'm always gonna be impressed, and I'm always gonna gravitate towards something that literally it comes out of the gate, it comes out swinging, and it doesn't break, mm-hmm. It doesn't stop, it doesn't come up for air at any point. And there's a few more records again that are you'll find that's a quality that I really cherish as we move on. But Big Fish Theory, I think, is one of the best examples of that, of an album that is relentless and consistent.
Fair. I'm going to move on to my number 7 pick. A lot of times, especially what I'm finding out as I get older, and you probably have experiences too, is that a lot of the artists that you listen to growing up, they stay the same, right? You're not really looking to listen to new art. Well, maybe you are. Sometimes you get a little bit curious, but I feel like the older that I get, the more tied down I am to the artists that I listen to. I'm not really out there trying to fish for recommendations from other people. You know what I mean? I'm okay with my I'm alright with my musical library is already established as it is. You know, if an artist that's in that musical library puts out a new body of work, I'll go check it out. If they're artists that I don't necessarily know of, you know, it's fine. I don't really need to put that. I'm done with that.
I strongly disagree with that, but again, I'm always looking for new shit to listen to.
Okay. Well, I just find that.
However, I do appreciate when an artist, like when there's artists I can rely on, because I've had so many artists of mine just like turn to shit later in their career.
And that's incredibly disappointing.
Artists that really don't change that, like the artists that like don't, basically an artist that you come to know what they expect, they're not really big on innovation.
No, they just do the exact same thing over and over again. Yeah. But that's what makes me feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm saying there's something nice about that.
Okay.
Because it kind of limits their ceiling as an artist. Mm-hmm. But it gives them a nice high floor, and it's like going into a warm bath.
Exactly.
It's just comfortable. It's always there, and you can rely on it, and it brings you joy.
Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that I'm becoming a little bit of an old head, and I'll admit it. At the ripe old age of 24, I have my small pool of artists that I'm looking to listen to. Not really trying to venture out. It is getting more difficult nowadays because there are.
Asshole.
Well, you can say that. Go ahead. You can. I will admit it. I am a little bit close-minded. But my number 7 album is an album from a group that I had no clue who they were, wasn't really familiar with any other body of work in the prior, but I think it's the reason why I put it on this list is because it's a perfect marriage between the younger generation. You know, you have these hip hop artists are getting younger and younger. You know what I mean?
That's how it tends to work.
It feels like they're getting younger and younger.
Time's a bitch.
You know, like the most popular artist in the world now is not even old enough to drink. I'm referring to Lil Nas X.
These goddamn artists that just keep getting younger.
But then a lot of times it's very refreshing to see kids who are that age put out music that older folk can really, really enjoy. And that's what brings us to Saturation number 3 on this list. Saturation 3 is the third release by the group Brockhampton. It's in the year of 2017 that I was introduced to this group. Had no idea who these kids were.
As a lot of people, myself included.
No one knew who these kids were. And a lot of times when you get new artists, let's be honest here, you're not really expecting much from them because you haven't heard anything. So the moment I put this album on, you hear Boogie comes on, and I'm just up it, and I'm just going nuts. I'm like
grooving.
I'm just grooving. This bloody saxophone just blows it out of the water, and I'm like, who the hell are these kids coming out of nowhere? And then Amir Van tells you who these are. Brockhampton, they're taking over. Best boy band since One Direction.
Yep.
I can attest to that. Up and down this album.
They also make people itch like a skin infection.
Yeah, exactly. You have stellar verses from people like Don McLennan. You got Joba. Obviously, the frontman, Kevin Abstract. A lot of times, groups don't necessarily have more than one talented rapper on them. We can look to past groups like Odd Future, for example.
Odd Future, very top.
Funk Volume was like that for a while. In my opinion, you only had Hobson, who was the best out of the best. But it's been a while since we've had a group where everyone...
collective. You should say collective, because there are like duos and trios where everybody's good.
Correct. I mean,
when you have like 46 guys
I would phrase that to use the word collective, right?
Yeah.
Collectives, oftentimes, there's like one or two shining stars. You know, out of Odd Future at the beginning of the decade, who came out of that group to being the stars? Tyler, Frank, Earl. That's it.
Yeah, Frank was kind of like a rotating member. Like he would come in for like a guest, but he wouldn't really perform with them.
He was part of the original lineup, though. He was part of the original lineup of Odd Future members.
Yeah, like I think maybe it was because by the time they blew up, he was kind of just like a frequent collaborator of theirs. He wasn't necessarily part of the collective.
Right. But
he was like a friend of the collective.
We could debate that all day,
but
my point is that everyone in this group has talent,
yeah.
And that's what put it on my list. So.
No, it's fair. I mean, for me, what impressed me so much about Saturation 3 is because, like, not only did they come out swinging, they put out 3 albums in 6 months.
And a lot of times that does not work with most artists.
No,
look at somebody like Logic who puts out a new album every 6 months. Rick Ross does it. You know, Drake does it.
Gucci Mane back in the day. Gucci was like 3 releases in a month.
E40, who's an OG in this hip hop game. Not every album slaps, and not every album is loved by many. Everything that Brockhampton has put out has been acclaimed by critics and audiences.
Yeah, I mean, Iridescence was less so by audiences. Iridescence was a little bit more divisive, but regardless, what they've been able to do in such a short period of time, particularly at such a young age, is incomprehensible.
Right.
It's fucking remarkable. And that's the thing that's impressed me about the most. This is my favorite Brockhampton album as well. It wasn't super. Again, if it was a top 50 list, this would be on there. Mm-hmm. But it's a great fucking record. I mean, I don't. The thing is, I am a little bit confused though. I don't understand. I don't know if they really appeal to old people because they use a ton of vocal effects.
When I say old people, I'm not talking like senior citizens. I mean
no
people.
shit, you're talking about senior citizens, but people who are like old, like people in their 35, 45.
I think they can enjoy this type of rap.
I don't know because it's because of the vocal effects. They use a shit ton of vocal effects.
Do you act like they don't like there hasn't been music with vocal effects?
No, but
before?
like a lot of the vocal effects are like high pitched and like very very electronic.
Yeah, I mean electronic music was huge for like the longest time.
I don't know.
I think if anything they revitalized that genre in terms of infusing it into the hip hop medium. But that's besides the point.
I mean, I just talked about an album that I think that heavily incorporated. I've talked about two already that heavily incorporated EDM music.
Well, all three. You could say that about all three, in my opinion. But all right, let's go on to what's your next pick?
All right, number 7 for me would be Pinata.
All right, Mr.
By Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. I mean,
Madlib.
now this is another example of a very this is like the Odd Couple album of. I mean, when this shit came out, you're like, what? Freddie Gibbs?
Yeah.
And
Madlib?
I mean, Madlib obviously, like most people, most of my exposure with Madlib is through Mad Villain.
Right.
I mean, Mad Villainy is an album that, again, one of my all-time favorite records of hip hop. So I was like, huh. And then Freddie Gibbs is just like he's like the gangster rapper.
Yep. So
like,
you would have never thought.
And I mean, Mad Villainy, you're like, how the hell is like a hardened like a guy who like a hardened gangster like Freddie Gibbs?
Yeah.
Gary, Indiana's finest. How is he a guy that also like in his past endeavors had kind of more gone towards the trap sound, to be honest? Yeah. And how is he going to gel with a guy that has put out songs like Accordion? And uses bizarre instrumentation usually from the jazz, funk, soul situation. Turns out pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Turns out there's a great chemistry. I mean, Gibbs actually sounds fantastic over these smooth instrumentals of Madlib, and Gibbs's hard edge allows Madlib to try some more abrasive shit like Harold's. I mean, like I would never expected him to put a fucking song with a straight up like banging drum line on it and like a crazy synth on it. Like I thought basically if you would told me like something like if he made like songs like Deeper make sense for Madlib, but like songs like Harold's, Scarface, you're like. What, this is Madlib who produced this?
This is the same guy that did wow, I'm thinking of what's the art? MF Doom. The same guy that worked with MF Doom.
That's what I was saying. Like he did songs like Bistro.
Right.
And fucking Accordion.
Rhinestone Cowboy.
Exactly.
It's almost like Mad Gib went trap.
Yeah.
And you would have never thought that would, because it's like these are completely two different worlds.
Yeah, and Gibbs is not. And the thing is, Gibbs outside of this record, Gibbs is not a guy that I'm a big fan of. I think he's put out a couple of pretty good projects. The Pronto EP was good. Shadow of a Doubt was pretty good. But like I'm generally he's very hit or miss for me. But he brought his A game in terms of this.
So this one made you a Freddie Gibbs fan?
Sort of. I mean, I think it just kind of brings out the best in him.
All right.
I think this is easily the best thing he's ever done, and I'm very much looking forward to. It might sneak into the top 10. Their next project, which should come out at some point in time this year.
Yeah.
The follow-up to Pinata, whatever the hell it's called. But just it's the smoothest gangster rap album you've ever heard. And if you enjoy the old school gangster rap albums, but with little twists, listen to this goddamn album. Out fucking standing stuff.
Awesome. All right, moving on to number 6 on our list here. I have an album that kind of came out right around the time when one of my favorite blocks of hip hop was earlier in this decade. It was known as blog rap. Nicky Fax, I'll name some names. Nicky Fax, Charles Hamilton, Blue, Lupe Fiasco, J. Cole. A lot of these artists were moving away from traditional distribution deals and using stuff like MySpace to put out their music, using stuff
those were the days.
Yeah, like you remember those days, using stuff like Blogspot to promote your music. Who would have ever thought that would be a successful way? But now that's all that people do now is through streaming and internet, using internet as the way of releasing your music. And this album came around from an artist who was huge at the time. Unfortunately, he hasn't had the same amount of success, later on in his career. But this is Zero Heroes by XV, which is probably one of the nerdiest. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a question?
Who the fuck is XV?
Okay. Well, this album just took this episode is just gonna veer to the left for a second so I can explain to you.
Yeah, no, because I don't know who the hell this is.
XV is Mr. Donovan Johnson. That would be his government name. Known as also the nerdiest rapper of all time.
Where's the MC Chris?
No, not that bad.
That's right.
But he was the one that made geek culture cool. You know how nowadays everyone everyone's like geek culture is like popular culture. It's the exact, which I mean, Avengers, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, D&D. Everybody's doing it now. This guy was doing it way before that. Look at this collage right here.
This guy was a dungeon master before it was cool.
No, that's not. I don't mean to get all too pretentious on here, but really though, like
I just felt like uttering that sentence.
The era where rapping about stuff like Batman and the Chicago Bulls and the same song could be cool. The Nintendo 64 and Michael Jackson, Eazy-E and The Office. You know what I mean? It was a perfect combination of topics and pop culture. Thank you. And it came from one of my favorite rappers of that era. You have songs on here that really make it feel like it was ahead of its time in terms of the way that we are now in film, because we have all these superhero movies. A lot of these songs could have easily fit into it as a superhero theme song. There's a song on here called "Heroes Eventually Die," and it's an interlude. It's almost an ode to every single epilogue of the death of like people like Superman and Batman, and you hear all these news reports.
Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a song on here that was one of J. Cole's earliest beats that he made coming up in his career called Smallville that he produced, which is a really incredible song. Pictures on My Wall is it's an awesome record about how we idolize so many heroes in our lives and how people live to tear them down. So yeah, just an incredible project by XV. My favorite one, definitely. And then you have The Last Hero, which is the last song on this record, which includes an amazing hook by Patrick Stump, a Fall Out Boy. So there we go.
High profile guest spot for a guy that died.
Patrick Stump?
No, I was talking about this guy because I don't know who the hell he is. So
He's still alive.
I made a joke about him being dead.
Oh, okay.
That was the joke.
I mean, hell, his album was supposed to be called his new album was supposed to be called The Kid with the Green Backpack. Never came out.
Never came out.
So
when did this come out?
This came out in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I said, because it came out around the Blogspot era.
Gotcha.
So yeah, blogosphere rap. But go ahead. I'm sorry. On to yours.
All right. So number 6 for me would be "Old" by Danny Brown. All right. So I mean, Danny Brown is the nickname for the kids who don't know. He's known as the hybrid.
Hey.
And
he's actually that's where I stole my Twitter handle from, was Danny Brown.
Really?
Yeah. It's the hybrid. I stole it from Danny Brown. I'm sorry. This isn't about my Twitter. But go ahead. Go on.
Very mean.
Sorry, but the hybrid, he is known as the hybrid.
Yeah. I'm gonna need a minute for you a hybrid for robbing Daniel Sewell like that. Just very mean. No. I mean, to me, this record is the best illustration of that persona, because the first half of the record, songs like $25 and Lonely, are just very somber, introspective songs about him growing up in Detroit and just being alone and going to prison and selling drugs and all that shit, things he didn't want to be doing. And then the second half of the record is a full-blown fucking party album, and the thing is, both of them are brilliant. Like Danny Brown, it takes a special balance to be able to pull off like a truly like somber shit and like the wildest turn-up shit you've ever heard. And again, this is gonna be crazy, but you know what the second half of the album's like? It was produced by a bunch of EDM producers.
Hey, there you go.
So it's real. That's the thing. And a lot of people will attribute it. If you want to be a real snob, you can tell the kids that Migos, Young Thug, Future, not trap. Second half of Old, real trap, because trap. This thing, trap doesn't refer to
trapezoid. I don't know.
It does. It does not refer to trapezoids.
That was super corny.
It's not a geometry problem.
All right. So what is it?
But trap does not, contrary to popular belief, trap does not refer to like cook and crack.
So what does it refer to?
Trap refers to a type of EDM, a specific type of EDM from. A specific type of EDM.
Look at that.
That's particularly big. Again, particularly big in Europe, particularly England.
All right. So what does it have to do with? Okay.
No, but I'm saying like the artists that produce, like Paul White, for example, produced a lot of the second half of Old. So it's what the kids call real trap. I mean, since I'm a man of the people.
There you go.
I'm not pretentious. I wouldn't call it real trap.
Oh.
But the real people. No, but the reason I like the album so much is because it is just such a. The two sides of it are so different, but they're both equally successful. And just being able to pull off that type of juxtaposition is remarkable to me.
It is.
And this album, Christ, I mean, when this shit came out, man, I mean, like, I remember the first time I fucking heard it, and I got super fucking, I mean, $25, I think in particular, I think I listened to that shit like every goddamn day of the first month this record was out.
It's even more impressive because no one ever thought that Triple X would ever it'd never get better than Triple X.
No, and Triple X, I mean, this album is kind of like the odd man out.
Can you really say like that you would have expected an album by Danny Brown to reach the bar of Triple X and even go over that at this point in time?
Well, see, I had an odd relationship. See,
Okay.
I would usually, if I liked Danny Brown out of the gate, I would say yes.
Oh,
but here's the thing. like you said a few minutes ago, but with Drake, like you fucking hated Drake when you first heard it.
Yeah.
Or sorry, you hated Start from the Bottom, and then it grew on you.
Yeah.
So when I first heard Danny Brown, I shut it off.
Really?
I couldn't fucking stand his voice. I had a buddy of mine show me Monopoly. And we were at my buddy Steve. We were at my buddy DJ's house, and he showed me this song, and I was like, he's like, yo, this is sick. So he shows me, like, within 20 seconds, I'm like, get that. I'm like, turn it off. This is garbage. And anyway, so yeah, whatever. I heard a few songs, then like eventually I listened to the record, and a few songs stuck out to me on Triple X, and when I first heard it, but I still didn't like it. And then eventually I became really, really, really fucking obsessed with Danny Brown. Now he's my favorite rapper.
Good for you. There we go, man.
So I can attribute to songs like Adderall Admiral and the title track from Triple X and Die Like a Rock Star for making me revisit. I still don't like Blood for Blood.
Okay, they're right.
No, Blood for Blood is still a weak song.
Okay,
but
good.
old, but yeah, old. So no, I didn't expect him to surpass Triple X because I didn't covet Triple X initially.
Okay.
But this record is kind of the odd man out in his discography. Because Triple X and Atrocity Exhibition kind of get all the acclaim. Those are the albums that are considered to be like are viewed as masterpieces in people's eyes.
Yeah, this is
old is kind of the odd man out because of the second half of the album.
Yeah, it's the neglected middle child of the Danny Brown.
Yeah, for sure.
discography.
Be sure because songs like Smoking and Drinking and Break It.
Yep.
And fucking dubstep and like songs like that are like they're heavy electronic and they have choruses that I can understand people are annoyed by. I think Smoking and Drinking is pretty much the hardest song ever fucking made.
Damn.
I mean fucking a little bit of hyperbole there, but like every time that song comes on, I'm like I'm gonna run into a wall. I need to smash. Like if this came on right now, I'd be smashing this fucking bottle off my head.
Good for you.
Great fucking song. I hadn't heard it in a while. I listened to it over the weekend. I'm like, God damn.
It's great.
Go hard as hell.
Going right on the list.
Way Up Here still isn't very good, even though Absol, even though it did provide me with the only line of Absol's that I remember.
Which was what?
All dogs go to heaven, not y'all.
Oh, God.
Absol stinks. But aside from Absol's stinkiness, this album is amazing.
Let's move on to my number 5. That's going to be, well, we talked a lot about on this list about good pairings, right? You got Madlib and Freddie Gibb. We got Kanye West and Kid Cudi. There isn't a pair on this earth making great.
Metro Boomin.
There isn't a pair on this earth making great hip hop music today that doesn't owe anything to these two, Jay-Z and Kanye West. This album, obviously, aside from being the amazing award-winning album that it is, everyone loves. This is on like a bunch of people's list. I feel like as far as collaborative efforts, because people love collaborations, and Jay-Z and Kanye West are two of the greatest of all time. But I honestly don't. I feel like every collaborative duo that is put out, whether it's LP and Killer Mike, they all owe something to either of these two people.
I don't know about that.
Really?
I don't know about that. Run the Jewels.
Let's talk about Pinata for a second, right?
But Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, like, I'll give you that. Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, but Run the Jewels was like a duo that intended to like continue to make music. Like that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think Run the Jewels would have been as well received if it wasn't for Kanye West or Jay-Z's career. Not for this album coming out, but I'm referring to if there was not a Kanye West or a Jay-Z, I don't think Run the Jewels would exist.
I don't know about
I'll
that.
put that out there right now.
I don't know about that.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're not going after the same demographic. Like,
It doesn't matter.
Run the Jewels
It doesn't matter.
Is more of the
underground alternative. It doesn't matter.
God, I hate using that term.
Killer Mike is a legend in this hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me that Killer Mike wasn't influenced by Jay-Z? You're out of your fucking mind.
Killer Mike started making music around the same time as Jay-Z.
Yeah, but Killer Mike was out there fucking cooking crack just like Jay-Z was.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he was influenced by him.
Okay,
Killer Mike, he's from Atlanta.
It doesn't matter where you're from.
LP could have very well been, but LP went more of an abstract
artists
delivery.
from all around the country have been influenced by Jay-Z. Fucking
disputing-
A$AP Rocky is from New York, and he was.
I'm not disputing the
That's what
legacies
I'm
of
talking
Jay-Z and Kanye West. I'm just questioning the influence specifically on Run the Jewels because they're not that far off in age.
Yeah,
so
I know
like
that.
I don't know.
They're pretty old.
Yeah, like Kanye, like Killer Mike might be older than Kanye.
He is.
And I think LP might be too, honestly.
Right. My whole point is that I think this album here is the collaborative duo album of collaborative duos albums. That wasn't a really coherent sentence, but it's the album that
I understood the.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. So
plus, I've been fucking talking for half. That made fucking more sense than half the shit I've come out of my mouth since it started.
This was a point in Kanye's career. For a second, if I can just veer off in this area, Kanye was kind of a jackass around this time. This was the beginning of like people not really fucking with Kanye because it happened right after. Well, it happened right after the whole thing with Taylor Swift.
Yep.
No one really thought they could like trust Kanye's music or thought that it was worth anything at this point. But then he comes out with a song like New Day, talking about how he hopes that his son never has an ego and never turns out to be as big of an asshole as he is. And you're like, holy shit, Kanye has a heart. Well, I mean, I already knew that. But a lot of people didn't. I think a lot of people personally were still thinking of him as like this overly egotistical douchebag.
Yeah, see, I think Dark Twisted Fantasy got to put those flames out. Because Dark Twisted Fantasy came out was the first project he put out after the Taylor Swift incident.
Yeah.
And now he addressed it on that album.
Yeah, but even after that, Kanye West was still out here just talking nonsense.
Well, that's his entire career.
Even on that album, he's completely shameless.
Of course, well, that's who he is. You can't suppress that.
Okay, well then, if My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was the one that brought him back into the limelight, this one even continued it. And I think part of that has to do with Jay-Z. Jay-Z was coming off of also a pretty rough couple of months because, the Blueprint 3 wasn't as well received by many folks. And he needed something to put out, and he needed something great quick. And this was the album that brought, for me personally, this was the one that brought Jay-Z back to being one of the greatest of all time. Production, all around here, you have some of the best producers that have ever touched a beat board in the booth. 88 keys, no ID, RZA, like just up and down this thing. And then you have Frank Ocean, who was, getting started in his career. Oh my goodness, that first song, Church in the Wild.
No Church in the Wild's tremendous.
Incredible.
This record is one I don't hold in high regard at all. I think it's very mediocre. But No Church in the Wild, that would get though fantastic. And
perfect chemistry.
And the Blank in Paris is also a tremendous song, and you want to talk about one of the sampling genius of Kanye West. How the hell you can make a song with a prominent sample from Blades of Glory work so well is a testament to how fucking good he is.
Exactly.
When he's trying.
Yeah, Paris has become like one of the biggest songs of the decade. If you ask me, one of the biggest hip-hop songs of the decade. And it's all due to how great the internet.
Can you imagine being in a club sometime in 2011 when that came on? Oh man, that must have been fucking wild. That must have brought the goddamn house down every time.
There you go. There we go right there. I don't really have much else really to say about it. I just love this album, every song on it. Good.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
All right. So my
number five?
Number 5 is the most recent entry, I think, on either of our lists.
Yeah, I think so.
So this came out in August 3rd, 2018. There'll be a little album called Astroworld by Travis LaFlame Scott.
Yeah.
Government name. Look it up. So this record is obviously something you've heard me gush about to no end, so I'll try to keep this as brief as possible.
I'm surprised this is high up on your list.
You're surprised it is this high?
Yeah, because it just came out.
Yeah, but I already I already know this album has already cemented a special place in history. I can unleash all the Travis Scott takes now.
Yeah.
Since we're
last
done.
show, yeah, again.
All right, I think that basically he's batting 1,000. I think he's put out 2 borderline masterpieces and 1 masterpiece.
You're talking about one artist batting 3 great albums in a row?
Yeah, I think that this.
Hold on to that for a second.
I think Travis Scott has solidified
remember
himself.
He said that. Just remember
I think he has solidified himself as a generational talent.
Okay.
With this record, and I think that he is 1 album away from being better than his mentor.
That's
Yeah, I think he's already put out more.
Talk about great takes.
Yeah, I think he's 1 masterpiece away from being surpassing Kanye West's accomplishments.
All right. Wow.
As an artist, I really do.
Now I know why it's so high up.
Yeah, but the album. I mean, the thing about Astroworld is, I think Travis's career has been a build up to this. I mean, I think he put out 2 melodic trap records. This is kind of his way of branching out. It still has a melodic trap feel, but it implements more old school Southern influences, more psychedelic influences, and I don't know why this appealed so much to me, but the fact that the album is based off of a Six Flags Astroworld, the fact that he made this album sound like a fucking theme park. Was remarkable to me, and I don't know why. But this record, I think it's his most consistent project. I think it's his most cohesive project, his most ambitious project. I truly don't believe it's a bad song on this entire record. I think it's a goddamn sprawling masterpiece. With the vision is so fucking strong, and it's just such a fucking outstanding.
You know
project.
what's funny is I put out a video on my Instagram over the weekend. Make sure you go ahead and follow me on there. But anyway, on my Instagram I posted up a meme from the TV show Arthur.
Yeah.
There's this recurring meme on the internet where the one where Biggie's put on the headphones
and he floats away.
He floats away in the Mandelbrot.
Yeah.
So I found one on the internet for the song Yosemite, and I posted that because I thought it was the funniest thing ever. But then I go back and I listen to it because I'm ready to post it. I'm like, yo, I forgot how great great this song was.
So fucking good.
So I played it on my because I have it on Apple Music, and I must have run through that song about 5 or 6 times in a row.
I mean, you might as well. It's 2.5 minutes. I mean, really, but is it the one with the corrected nav vocals?
Yeah, it's the one with Nav on there.
Okay.
Remember when they fixed it? It's the one that they fixed, yeah.
Now, I have a special place in my heart for the unfixed one because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, does Nav add much to the song? Not really.
He says like 3 words.
It's very much the Travis and Gunna show on that song.
Yeah.
But it is never not hilarious, and you can still find if you listen to the original one that Travis posted on his YouTube channel, you can still find the unfixed one.
Good.
That's the only place you can find it.
You go ahead and find that Easter egg.
Because Nav sounds like he's trapped, like he sounds like he was down with the Chilean miners. Like it sounds like they just like put a mic on the top, and like he sounds like he recorded underground.
It's still great though.
Like he was the 34th miner. It was Nav.
Oh God!
There was the 33 guys,
That's okay. That's all right.
And then they record. No, but the song. Well, they mostly
made it out.
They made it out.
Most of them.
And it was god awful. But my point is that it was a very crass way of saying that he sounds like he recorded the song in a hole.
Yeah, I would say that Travis Scott definitely cemented his legacy with this album.
Yeah, I mean, and the album.
I agree.
And obviously, it has all the staples of his. Like, it's very catchy and it's very atmospheric. But it's just that I think he added more to his arsenal. Like there's the old school, like Yosemite's a song with an old school Southern influence. Like that song has like a straight up like country guitar on it. And there's plenty of other songs. I mean, like Coffee Bean has a similar thing going for it.
RP DJ Screw is another one.
Yeah, RP is great. And then there's the full blown psychedelic elements like fucking Skeletons is produced by Kevin Parker from Tame Impala. And then you have the old school. Then of course you're gonna get the straight up like loud trap bangers like No Bystanders. Yeah. And Butterfly Effects on that record too, which I always forget. So it's just a special album.
Special album.
Bless you, Travis Scott.
There you go.
Bless you.
Speaking of special albums, and since you brought up Travis Scott, an artist, in my opinion, needs 3 great albums in order to call himself one of the greatest of all. At least to enter the conversation of one of the greatest artists of all time. Would you agree with that sentiment? Because a lot of rappers here, a lot of fans will throw out how rappers need 1 album, or they need like 10 albums to be considered one of the greatest. For me, number 3. Three is the magic number. You need 3 good albums, right? So in your opinion, would you say that's a sufficient claim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't need to be in a row, but I think you don't cement your legacy until you made 3 albums.
3 like
if you do 3 in a row, like then holy shit.
Exactly. So that's what brings me to my number 4 pick on here, which is Section 80, the genesis of Mr. Kendrick Lamar. Now, this album's been talked about to death. I'm just going to go ahead and just say as little as I can about it because, everybody's fucking talked about how great this album is. It's the first album it's the album that introduced me as well as everybody else in the mainstream America to who Kendrick Lamar was as an artist. Maybe you might have heard EP, maybe you might have heard OD, some of his earlier projects or like the C4 mixtape. But this is the one. This is the one that like got him to where he could start earning acclaim from like all these bloggers and critics online. This is the one that got him to like be able to earn Grammys and be able to earn all these VMA awards. This is the one. Section 80 is a hip hop, Shakespearean hip hop tale, if you will. And there's another album on this list that is just as great as that. That's my number 1 pick. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Section 80 was the one that introduced everybody to Kendrick Lamar. No one knew how great of a wordsmith he was. I can tell you right now, I was not entirely sold on the inflection of Kendrick Lamar's voice. I thought he was just a little too childish for me when he did those. Because those weird voices that he makes that really don't.
Oh
you
God!
Don't like?
Oh, do I ever? It's my biggest problem with him as an artist.
Right. So this is where that came from on here, because you have songs in here on what is that song?
Fucking Hole Up.
Thank you. On Hold Up. He's like, hold up.
Oh God, Hold Up.
Hold up.
Oh no.
It's where he's talking about sleeping with a stewardess.
Hold Up is his worst song. I will go out and say, even I thought Damn was incredibly underwhelming, but there's nothing as bad on Damn as Hold Up.
Well,
Holy shit.
Hold Up is special to me personally, and this entire album is, because you start off with a song like Fuck Your Ethnicity, which is a statement that I think everyone can agree with, but for some reason not everyone
I don't think I've ever agreed more with a sentiment in my life.
But no one has ever been able to just blatantly
no, baby.
What's the word I'm looking for here? Blatantly express that sentiment as like Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, making a song saying that like that doesn't make you a person. Like that's not what defines you as a person. Like that shouldn't define your worth as a person.
Right.
It's a sentiment I completely agree with because I don't know what the fucking problem is if you're judging people. If you're judging the worth like good or bad people based on their fucking ethnicity or sexual orientation, gender, whatever. Like go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Also, it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Above all, it makes no fucking
Makes
sense.
no sense. But anyway, this album's not about mostly about that. It's all about the 80s. The 80s is all about crack cocaine. It's all about poverty. It's about sex. It's about all that kinds of stuff. And he just wraps it all and puts Schwarzenegger movies. I don't know if that's on this album at all. But Kendrick Lamar,
no.
for his first album,
Bonus
decided to combine all of those themes and put out a tiny little bow around it. I just poured water on my phone. That's okay. It's our last show.
Yeah.
So yeah, perfect album like Mr. Kendrick Lamar, and he would only follow up with great stuff following this.
Now, see, I'm gonna use my next album to refute this point. So my number 4 is Good Kid, Mad City.
All right.
And here's why I think. Now, see, this is where I think the tide turned for Kendrick. Lamar.
Really?
I think Section 80 was an album where he showed promise, but he wasn't quite there yet.
As I dry my phone.
He wasn't quite there yet. Yeah. I think there are some remarkable songs on Section 80 that, and I think I will agree that it started to get him attention. Like the name Kendrick Lamar started buzzing. But I don't think he truly launched to the next level until this record. Both from a popularity standpoint and creative standpoint.
It was his major label
because Section 80,
debut.
I think Section 80 was very erratic in terms of quality. I think there were moments where where it peered into what he was going to become. Songs like Keisha's song. Like you want to talk about a devastating song? Not a song I listen to often. Not gonna lie. Don't put that one on very often. But good Lord.
Rarely will Kendrick get that dark nowadays.
That might be the darkest song he's ever made.
Yeah.
In terms of sheer horror of the lyrical
subject
content.
matter, yeah.
Oh God. Not going to tell everybody what that's about. Listen to the song if you want to have it, but just don't do it if you're in a good mood.
Okay. But yeah, you were saying.
But that, and I think Rigor Mortis and High Power and ADHD in particular, those are the 4 songs I would single off from that album that showed off what he could eventually evolve into.
Okay.
And the artist that he did evolve into in Good Kid, Mad City. I mean, Good Kid, Mad City, I think this is when he became like the guy. I mean, I'd say from a popular opinion, for a guy that emerged in the 2010s, he's the rapper that people would say is the best of his generation. If you were to poll if you were to do a popular opinion, that he would win.
Right, I agree.
And this album, I think, is easily the best thing he's ever done. No disrespect to anything else his other records. Obviously, Pimp a Butterfly was on my list, but this album is it's simultaneously a look at the horrors and the perspective he's gained from said horrors about the city of Compton growing up. This is basically a story of him growing up in Compton and all the god-awful shit that he was exposed to through drug addiction, gangs, whatever, and then obviously some of the joys, and eventually him getting out and reflecting upon the city and his love for it. And if you just want an example of, now, as I've said many, many times on these airwaves, lyrics obviously are not very important to me. Now, however, here's where lyrics are important to me. When you're telling a narrative. And from a narrative perspective, this record is pretty goddamn near seamless.
Absolutely.
And it is coherent from start to finish, and just the way that like The Art of Peer Pressure, for example, is a song that's basically about him being peer pressured into robbing someone's house.
Yeah.
And just the way that it documents it one by one, including like directions, like make a left, make a right, make a, and it's you're like honest. It's like what it's like you're watching a fucking movie.
It feels as if you're in the car with him, like you're getting ready to rob this person's house. They even go so far as to tell you what they stole from the other person's house, which is incredible.
And how they eventually didn't get caught. And then obviously you have songs like Mad City. You want to talk about a horrifying portrait of the city. And just the being witness to murders, and Kendrick Lamar's potentially saying, "Hey, like I was an innocent kid, but I might have killed somebody." He basically leaves it up in the air, like I may or may not have killed someone. And that is just a stunning song. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, like then you have the more tender songs like "Poetic Justice" with a guest spot from everybody's favorite Canadian rapper, good old Aubrey Graham. But yeah, so it's basically about him falling in love, him getting. Basically, all the teenage staples if you're growing up in Compton.
Right.
Some are universal, you can relate to. Some are specific, but all of it's endearing, and it's cemented him as the artist that he has become, I think.
And it's a coincidence that you actually brought that up as your pick, because my number 3 pick is actually going to go to Good Kid, Mad City as well.
Look at that.
Look at that right there. We're on the same page for this one album. And that's the thing is that's how I know, because we're such different people as far as musical tastes, right? But that's how you know this album is so great. When two people who have completely different tastes in music.
Completely different is a little strong.
Not completely different. We're relatively different, right? Yeah. One of us is very much values lyrics and content and subject matter, while the other one is very much into or values more on the production side of things, right?
I do aim towards more the musicality.
The musicality of it, right?
Than the lyricism.
The sounds, right? Yes. And that's how you know this album is so great, because this record, like you had already described, is about a kid from Compton just trying to tie himself down to anything that he can to keep him from veering off and to becoming like his friends. Whether it's a lot of songs on here, like even the first one, Shireen, where he's trying to tie himself down to another woman. Yep. He's trying to find some sort of acceptance. He's trying to get someone to accept him and validate him as a young man. To even songs where, actually up and down this album, he's trying to find something like religion. I know that's something you didn't really talk about, but I mean,
no.
Remember how like at the end of Swimming Pool, was it Swimming Pools or is it no, it's Sing About Me. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. That's the one where you hear Maya Angelou try, like she sees these kids in the street and he's just acting a fool of himself. And even though she knows there's no saving this kid, she's like, I'm gonna at least try. I'm gonna try and pull this kid out of this dark tunnel that he's in. Incredibly dark, incredibly cinematic. I think as a piece of work.
The whole thing is it's incredibly cinematic.
The fact that you can actually tell where he is all throughout the city, depending on what song you're listening to.
Yeah, in terms of the sheer detail into this thing is remarkable.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then it also, what I think is great about it is how, like, something we haven't mentioned is, like, the little voicemails in the background at the end of the song, how the entire time he's supposed to be out getting dominoes for his family, and he's just running amok throughout the city, is fantastic. So funny. The part, remember the part where that's like,
see, I'm not
somebody say dominoes?
No, see, I'm not gonna. I thought they were playing dominoes. I thought his dad, because I thought his dad was like home playing dominoes, and I'm not kidding. I thought this for 7 years since the album, 6.5 years since the album's been out.
Really?
Well, thanks for shining another light on me. So yeah,
it was not that hard to cover. Yeah. So basically, Kendrick Lamar.
That shows you how observant I am.
Throughout this entire project, Kendrick Lamar's supposed to be. His family thinks that he's going to get dominoes, but he's really out here just being an idiot. So yeah, and it's also an album that a lot of artists I think have tried to duplicate and have not necessarily failed to do, but they've drawn inspiration from this album. Logic and J. Cole are two that come to mind.
I was gonna say, I don't think too many artists have been tried to do it. I do know one though. I can think of one album that was literally a carbon copy of it. 2014 Forest Drive. A lot
of people were upset that I didn't put this on the list. They were like, why isn't Torn?
Because I went on Facebook to post something on my blog page. And I saw somebody was yelling at you about not having
2014's not. It was actually JC, the gentleman that was on our show earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, why isn't 2014 Forest Hills Drive on here? It's because there's a better version of it.
Put our lists side by side. And that's gonna be an interesting exercise. You should make a graphic with both our lists on it and just see how mad people get.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the only song on here that I would say is it's not a bad song, but it's like my least favorite, the one that I revisit the least, and that'd be Real with Analyze. I'm real. It's just the hook on there.
Real stinks. Real's very bad. I'm not big on Compton either.
I understand how it serves its purpose within the context.
And Real's like 7.5 minutes long too. It's
pretty long.
Not a good time.
But yeah, that's my number 3. I'll know your number 2.
Oh, you mean my number 3?
Your number 3.
My number 3 would be a group we just talked about. Run the Jewels.
Jewels.
I mean, Run the Jewels. All right. So all 3 of their albums. I mean, hell, if we were to do a top 20, top 25, all 3 Run the Jewels projects would be on. Yep. Run the Jewels, as I mentioned earlier, the first one just missed was one of the last albums I cut. Run the Jewels 3 would probably be like 21, 22. Mm-hmm. But this, I mean, Killer Mike and LP finding each other was just a gift. They came together because LP produced Killer Mike's solo album,
Rap Music,
RAP Music,
which almost went on my top 10.
Good old rebellious African people music for people who don't know. So they brokered a relationship after LP produced that record, and that's what became Run the Jewels. And Run the Jewels 1 was the birth of something beautiful. You could tell this was gonna blossom into a beautiful butterfly.
Absolutely.
And by beautiful butterfly, I mean 2 angry motherfuckers from 2 different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Grouping together to spit pure fucking venom.
You want to talk about a series of middle finger of an album.
Yeah, exactly. This album, that cover, by the way, like there's merch with that gun sign turned into a middle finger.
Yeah.
Because that's what this album is. Basically just 35, 40 minutes. There are a couple breathers. Occasionally they'll touch on serious subjects.
Right.
Early on this record is about police brutality. But for the most part, it's just 2 guys who bound together by the hate they have in their hearts for mankind and society. Mm-hmm. Just rapping, trading verses. Mm-hmm. With various, I mean, LP has a very abstract style, Killer Mike has a very southern style, but the 2 of them come together, are bound in a hate-fueled cauldron. Mm-hmm. And it's just basically 2 guys trading bars, and it's so goddamn entertaining and so fucking beautiful. And it's basically, it's kind of like a very refined rap battle, except they're not battling there's a spirit of competition between each other, but it's kind of like the venom they have is aimed at the world, not each other.
exactly.
Like they're basically two guys that have just bonded over their contempt.
Yeah.
And that's what this album is. And all three of their albums are pretty much are very similar in terms of stylistically.
Oh, I will say this is my least one out of the three.
Really?
Yeah. For me, it goes the first one, the Jewels, then 3, then 2.
Now, see this because again, there's just like probably half of my favorite songs by them are on this record. Between "Oh My Darling, Don't Cry," "All Due Respect," which has a great fucking guest spot from Travis Barker.
Yo,
best hip hop compilation he's ever done.
Talk about unorthodox features on there. I mean, he kills it on that.
I mean, Travis Barker's a hell of a drummer, man. So you want to throw some violent drums on your shit, you get sure you wouldn't listen to Travis Barker. Night? For sure. I was gonna say Blockbuster Night Part 1 is one of my favorites. Light Sheet Steel and Early is another one of my favorites by them.
Great.
I mean, really, pretty much the entire record, except for Angel Duster, the last song.
Oh, you don't like Angel Duster?
I'm not a big fan.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of like the somber endings that usually.
Let me ask you, why is this one higher than number 3 or number 1? Because number 1 is the one that introduced us. Number 3 is the one that capped it off.
Yeah, I think two is where they reached the peak. And like I said, it's literally as simple as this has my most favorite songs out of the 3.
Okay, gotcha.
Because they're all very close. They're all albums that I really have a special place in my heart. I mean, hell, I'd say Run the Jewels is, with the exception of Danny Brown, is my favorite rap group around right now. I mean, I've seen them live more than any other rappers around. I've seen them fucking 5 times. Mm-hmm. And their shows are fun as shit. So when they come back with Run the Jewels 4 this year, go see them. They're fucking amazing.
Are they coming out with Run the Jewels number 4?
Yeah, they're working on it right now. It's gonna be out by the end of the year. There's not an exact date.
Because I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, well, I wonder if they're putting out number 4 or if they're done with 3.
No.
But now it's
they're working on it. LP just got married, and they've been working on a few other projects.
Good for them,
separately,
dude.
in terms of like away from music. Like LP scored a movie,
and Killer Mike just got that show on Netflix.
Show, Trigger Warning. Yes.
Right. And so they'll be back.
So they will be back by the end of the year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Run the Jewels 4. Hopefully, Run the Jewels 4 will find its way high on this list.
Right. Moving on to my number 2. Now, my number 2 and number 1 just kept bumping back and forth. I didn't know because personally these are my 2 favorite albums of the decade, maybe the past 15 years. Yeah. Hip hop is something that brings a lot of people together. It's one of those movements that no one really had much faith in as far as like mainstream America. Didn't know if this was going to be is this just a little phase, or is this something that we can capitalize off of? So as it became more successful, we started to see America in particular was like, oh yeah, this little thing that all of these black folks started. Let's see if we can make money out of it. And that's exactly what To Pimp a Butterfly is all about. You had already talked about this record. Is there number 9? All right.
Yes.
Number 9 on your list. This is number 2 for me. I don't think Kendrick Lamar has made an album as good as this ever. I don't think he ever will. This album from front to back is just a story of political. I don't even know, political redemption, you could say that. He's trying to, I guess, use this newfound glory that he's somehow acquired since putting out Good Kid, Mad City and trying to use it for good. And you find at times throughout this album, he seems like he's failing. The song You comes to mind, where it's just him in the hotel room getting drunk as shit, questioning whether or not he should off himself, which is one of the darkest places. Like we said, he's gone to some dark places, but definitely one of the darkest moments I've ever heard on a record, where you can literally hear him swigging the bottle. The maid's trying to come in and clean the room, and he just will not let her in. Incredibly emotional. King Kunta, some of the best beats that Kendrick Lamar's ever done. I mean, you want to talk about bringing it back to like 70s, 80s funkadelic.
There's a serious funk. I mean, I was like I said, Wesley's Theory probably is like the funkiest song on the record, but King Kunta's not far off.
King Kunta's not far off. And then you also have the thread that plays all throughout this album where he's reading that poem, which is all about how rappers are essentially, they're insects. A lot of people refer to them as insects. They don't take them seriously. You step on one, there's another one that pops up. Yeah. They're a dime a dozen, just like bugs all over the world. And also Kendrick Lamar uses that to tell a story about how he doesn't think of himself as just an insect, but as a beautiful creature. How rappers and black people as a species should think of themselves as beautiful people. And it all caps off with that amazing unheard interview that he kind of stitched together at the end with Tupac Shakur.
Tupac, yes. Modern Man, very long song.
Modern Man, which affirms. Who would have thought that an interview from the past would affirm something that Kendrick Lamar, that you had been hearing up until this point? You would have never thought that those two would come together? I don't know.
Yeah.
Black of the Berry is also incredibly raucous as shit.
That's a fucking angry ass song.
You want to talk about black rock? That's the epitome of it right there. So really not really much else to say. I don't think, like Good Kid, Mad City, it's a great narrative. It's a great story. It's almost like a hip hop opera.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more convoluted than
than Good Kid, Mad City,
which is kind of understandable because it tries to do so much, and it mostly does a great job. Don't get me wrong, but like if you were to you could tell by me stumbling about it. Part of the reason is because obviously there are things that aren't going to apply to me, obviously because of, as we said, because of my skin color, but there's so many things that like I don't also understand because I'm not fucking because I just don't understand what he's trying to get at certain elements of the record. Mm-hmm. Most of I have a rough idea, but there are certain things that definitely went over my head, and it still continue to go over my head.
Things went over my head. That's the thing is a lot of these albums. The best part about them is that the things that went over your head about the first or second listen, by the time it clicks after like the fourth, fifth, or sixth, it just becomes that much better. Like there's a song on here where Kendrick Lamar is being asked for $1 by some bum on the street. And he's too fucking prideful to give him $1 because he feels like he's earned every fucking cent that he's made. Only to find out that all he needed to do was just not be so fucking selfish.
Give God $1.
Well, we joke about it now, but I mean seriously though, like if rapper he's man enough to admit that if he wasn't so fucking selfish, he might be able to save himself. You know, and it also proves to me that getting out of Compton, I mean, just because you got out of Compton doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need saving. It also doesn't mean because again, that's why I think Wesley's theory does a great job mapping out. Like, there's a whole different set of problems. Exactly.
Like he gets out and Dre has the sample where he talks about like
anybody can get it.
I remember the first time I brought you on a spot like mine. Like it's easy to get it, but like the hard part's keeping
it. Right? Yeah. Everything comes down to what you do after you become famous.
And again, he makes a great point, and that's why the song is so poignant to me. Is because like the song basically he stems like the lack of investment in the education in these urban areas as why these rappers get rich and then they don't know how to fucking manage their goddamn money.
Yeah.
And then they get like Wesley Snipes. That's what it's called, Wesley's theory.
Yeah.
They get locked up in prison for good old tax evasion.
It's not like he's blaming white America for everything. He's definitely he's owning up to a part of it.
Yes.
But the reasoning behind it, the reason why he feels like the people, all his contemporaries, have made the exact same mistakes that he has, it makes sense if you were to ask.
Yeah. I wouldn't say he's blaming white. He's blaming the government. Because it is the government's fault. I mean, obviously, it's obviously.
And it doesn't come off. It doesn't come off preachy like a lot of rappers will do.
No, it's very, very, very potent.
Right. So yeah, on to your number one.
Number two. Now, this is an album you could argue that's not even hip hop. You could argue it's not hip hop, but it's an album that I fucking love so goddamn much.
God damn it! Just get it over with.
The Money Store, Death Grips. An album that Feliciano loves.
I fucking hate Death Grips.
No, I understand because it's wildly unpleasant to listen to.
All right, look at that stupid album.
Now,
cover.
this is are you talking shit about the BDSM community? That's very mean.
No, I don't have a problem with that
very
community.
Mean. But I mean, the reason this record is so fucking great to me is you want to talk about extremes. Every other album that I've mentioned is accessible. I'd say not even angry opposed to this. This album is a goddamn. It's basically a rave in hell.
But why is it hip hop?
Minutes.
Why is this a hip hop record?
Because MC Ride raps.
Sure.
And it is rooted in industrial hip hop.
Does it sound like hip hop to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say I think they kind of veered off like everything else after No Love Deep Web, which is the follow-up album to this. I would say is not hip hop.
That's the one that's the dick on the cover.
Correct.
Okay. Just making sure I have my timeline correct.
They got dropped from their label on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't. Warner Bros. Wouldn't allow them to put a second album out, and they leaked the album out themselves, and they made the cover a penis.
Okay.
It was tremendous.
All right. Go ahead.
I mean,
you were saying.
But this album, but the thing that makes this album so special to me is that despite being aggressive. It is one of the catchiest fucking albums I've ever heard.
Really?
It is so fucking hooky. Like, there are songs like Get Got, The Fever, The Cage, I've Seen Footage, half the fucking album, most of the album, Blackjack, fucking System Blower.
Some of the best hooks you've ever heard?
Yes.
Jesus.
It's so goddamn catchy. Like, I could yell, like, I could sing pretty much every song on this album. The last two, Fuck That and Bitch Please, I'm not a big fan on. Sorry, two of the last 6 songs. Hacker. This album is so goddamn catchy, it's so fucking infectious, and it's so fucking addictive. And how they were able to pull this off with an album that is so goddamn harsh at its core is astonishing. And this is an album that I've re-listened to, actually, in fact, my Last FM account. It is the album I've listened to the most. Ever. Because it's mostly short. Most of the songs are between 2 and 3 minutes.
So there isn't an album that you've heard more than The Money Store?
Probably, if you were to, on a digital platform.
Oh, I understand.
Now, prior, if you were to count CDs and whatever, no, the album I've heard the most of my life is 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge by My Chemical Romance. I can say it without question.
Okay.
Because I think that was the only album I listened to between the ages of 13 and 15. That's a joke, but it seemed that way. But this record, and again, also special sentimentality. It brought my friends together. My friends who listen to all different types of music. This is an album that brought us together. This album, just think about that, and this has blown Feliciano's mind.
I'm like, what the fuck? How?
People together. And I will verify this.
I want to hear more of your friends what they think about this album, because I'm not saying I don't believe you, but this sounds like a little far-fetched to me. How could this album bring people together? If anything, this is the album.
I don't know.
This is what breaks friendship.
The summer of 2012, I can tell you, anytime we were in anybody's car, this record was on.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know why. I don't know why. Again, if you say like things like "we came to blow your system," or like "I've seen," or like I'm saying we quote this album to this day.
Right.
Like we'll yell things like "Suicide Lane," "fuck you." Various things.
It puts a smile on all your faces.
Yeah.
I understand. All right. Anything else you want to say?
Teach bitches how to swim.
Anything else you want to add?
Gaga can't handle this shit.
You're just gonna name the entire track list.
I'm just gonna relate me random quotes.
Okay.
You speak of certain circles, you be dethroned or detained.
I don't even see. That's the thing is,
I'm in your area.
I don't know any of what you're talking about.
I know. I'm just yelling quotes.
I'm sure that the Death Grips fans will appreciate it.
Blood rush.
Anyone who listens to Death Grips, you probably know what he's saying, and you probably appreciate more than I do.
Fucking block.
But we're moving on to my number one. Now, my number one here. My number one is the Eminem Show. No, it's this album right here, and I want to get a close up on this right now. Where's my single shot camera? Anybody have a single shot for me?
Yeah, there it's me. What's up?
No, not on Chris. Right there. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That's my number one album of the 2010s. Honestly, I can only, and this probably might be shocking to you, but there's only 4 or 5 albums that I've ever heard in hip hop that I can consider to be completely flawless. Obviously, there's a huge difference between a classic album and a masterpiece. Would you agree?
No. I think they're literally the exact same thing.
In my opinion,
I mean, clearly, the only difference is a classic album would be more of a popular opinion thing.
That's what I'm saying.
A masterpiece is going to be...
It's more subjective. It's more about what you personally feel.
People are going to call classic albums masterpieces, but I guess the only distinction is a classic album would be more, again, would be something that people... Like, this album is both. I mean, this album, you think it's a masterpiece, but it's also considered to be a classic.
Right, but I'll give you an example. Illmatic by Nas, right?
Yeah, that would also
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Not every record on there would I consider to be absolutely perfect, and every single second of that.
That's my favorite hip-hop album of all time.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
It's your favorite album of all time?
My favorite hip-hop album.
Hip-hop album of all time.
It's the only hip-hop album in my top 10 favorite albums of all time.
Okay, this is probably number 3 of my favorite hip-hop albums of all time. This right here. Kanye West was in a very bad spot. And this is my favorite story in music. It's the artist who has been vilified by the media and has put out probably his most polarizing or most disliked record. And up until this point, that was 808s and Heartbreak. Now, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people hated that record because it was nothing like Kanye had done before.
I think it's before last year was my least favorite album by him.
A lot of people, they were like, what is he doing? This is the guy that was supposed to be one of the greatest of all time. He comes out with this album where he's singing and bitching and moaning about his mother for 45, 50 minutes. And
yes, that's not what I thought. I thought it was a nice sentiment that was just a boring album.
A lot of people thought it was boring. That was another criticism, another gripe that people had with it.
Heartless is great, though.
But nobody thought that Kanye West would ever come back. And I think that's what makes this album even better. It's true. No one thought Kanye West... Yes, I can prove it. You can go back in time.
I mean, I wasn't a fan of his at the time, and I wasn't as aware of music then.
You have to remember, this is before we had things like Instagram, all the social media stuff.
Yeah.
People didn't realize that an album like this took this long to create, this grandiose extravaganza where you have artists like people from Elton John to Bon Iver up and down this thing. It's incredibly experimental.
Yeah.
And also songs like, I've said this before, but All the Lights, perfect song for being there. There's not a second on that song that I would change. Because for me, personally, there are songs that run about 6-7 minutes. You think about November Rain by Guns N' Roses, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Those songs are long as shit. And a lot of people, they're incredibly inaccessible to a lot of people.
This is where I differ. I'm like 6-7 minutes. I'm thinking, because I listen to metal and a lot of the shit's mad indulgent.
They're incredibly fucking long.
And again, my favorite band,
Hip-hop
my favorite band routinely makes songs that are 12 to 13 minutes.
Exactly, but in the hip hop world, that doesn't fare well.
No, I agree.
People tune off around the 3 to 4 minute mark.
I often do, actually.
That was one of the biggest singles that Kanye's ever produced, and it was fucking 6 minutes long.
Well, All the Lights?
All the Lights is like 5 minutes.
I think it's like 4.5.
No. Let me check right now.
I was like, All the Lights is not even close to
clocks in at 5 minutes.
Okay.
Clocks in at 5 minutes. So, and there are multiple parts on there. But yeah, this is a redemption story arc. It actually has a narrative arc if you really go back and listen to it. It starts off with Kanye being the most indulgent piece of shit that we know him as now. And at the end, it actually ends on a really nice note. He takes incredible responsibility, not with Blame Game, but I'm referring to the song Lost in the World. Where he essentially knows that it almost feels like he's predicting the end of his career. Which is incredibly poignant. And then you also have incredible guitars. The guitars on this fucking record.
Oh, gorgeous.
We're talking about gorgeous. Oh my God.
I'm mostly just talking about gorgeous.
Devil in a New Dress with Rick Ross. I'm not a fan of Rick Ross personally.
I still hate that song.
Oh God.
We talked about this when we did the anniversary episode.
I know. And I was like,
sad.
I don't know what the fuck your problem is. Rick Ross is
probably
my favorite Rick Ross verses of all time is on there. I can quote. Now,
your favorite's on Monster.
You're talking about quoting Rick Ross on there. I mean, quoting Death Grips with your friends. I can quote Rick Ross lyrics from this album.
I can only count Blow Money Fast. That's the Rick Ross song.
Big Meech.
Oh. Larry Hoover.
No. But I think we have songs like Monster, which introduced us to Nicki Minaj.
Oh, boy, I love Monster.
It's a song that, for the first time ever, we had Nicki Minaj out-rapping everyone else on her song, where it's usually the other way around. She's being outshined by everyone else.
That Minaj verse is special. I mean, I don't think she'll ever top that.
It's a special place in hip-hop, I would say. Incredible. I don't really know what else I can say. If you want to hear what we thought about this entire album extensively, you can go back and listen to our 7-year retrospective. But you're number one, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Dark's a Fantasy, I mean, like, that's a pop. I mean, obviously, you're going to find that album on a lot of overall number ones.
It's his best album.
And I completely get it. Completely understand it. It's my second favorite Kanye album. But it's a great fucking record. Again, I don't think it's perfect like you do, but it is a great fucking album, and the boy of the high's high.
Fun factoid: this is the album that introduced me to Rap Genius. So
really
didn't know. Yeah, because this was around the time where everyone thought that Kanye was like, they had all these like in-depth theories about how he was in the Illuminati, and they wanted to prove it. Because remember that Power video came out, and they were like, look at all this symbolism. Kanye's a Nazi. So
what Nazi? What the hell? Okay, Nazi and Illuminati are two very different things.
I'm obviously exaggerating.
I was gonna say the Illuminati. I wouldn't think anything of it. If Kanye was a Nazi, I have to reevaluate my opinion.
But like, people swore he was evil, and I was about 14, 15 at the time, and I was like, I gotta find out what the fuck this song means.
If I knew Kanye was evil,
I come across Rap Genius, and I've been on the Genius.
If 18-year-old me found out Kanye West was evil, I would have fucking checked him out sooner. I can tell you that one.
What's your number one?
I had heard his music. My number one, again, I mean, as Feliciano's was realistically not really a surprise.
Gee.
And again, mine also not a surprise.
No, not at all.
Again, we actually, but the difference is that we reviewed this album when it first came out.
We did.
That would be go back to the year 2016. Little album called Atrocity Exhibition by Danny Brown. As I've stated several times on this episode and several times in the past, Danny Brown's my favorite rapper of all time. I didn't say all time, of right now, and it might be all time. Who knows? Who knows? But what solidified that fact for me? This baby right here. Now, this album is wildly unpleasant to listen to in terms of the subject matter.
Yeah, probably. It
is a descent through his personal hell.
I was gonna say it's a hellscape on wax.
It is, and that is not only lyrically, musically it reflects that. Yeah. I mean, it's frantic synthesizers, horns, guitars, just sample work, like very like busy, like a haunting, like hellish.
But I would never expect anything less from someone that sounds like Danny Brown.
No, exactly.
He has such a unique voice.
And he accredits this album. He got, because he signed to a new label, Warp Records.
Yeah.
On this label, and he said this is the first time that he got the sample budget he wanted to work with. And I think that helped shape the album. Like he could finally afford to put every little bit of music and vocal work that he wanted to.
That's fucking insane, because that's something you rarely see.
Yeah, so he finally, I don't know, the budget must have been ridiculous, because he takes so much shit from all over the place. But the reason this record is it touches on so many goddamn things, and it just from start to finish, it's so fucking intricate and well executed, it's astonishing. It's fucking astonishing. Because it touches on everything from his drug addiction to his anxiety to the guilt that he feels for getting out of the hood and knowing people he knows are in prison, dead, or still in Detroit selling drugs, and how much pain that brings him. That's a song called From the Ground. It's a quietly just devastating song. Because obviously Danny Brown obviously has the persona of being this over-the-top like cartoon character.
Yeah.
But he does introspection to me as well as anybody. And From the Ground to me is as that song, he sounds broken on that song. And how do you Kalea, is that her name?
I don't know. I still don't know how to say
I still don't know how
her
to pronounce her name.
Yeah.
Her fucking chorus gives fucking goosebumps every fucking time.
Yeah.
But just from start to finish, like there's just so many astonishing highlights. Ain't It Funny?
I was gonna say, I was like, when are you gonna get to that?
Ain't It Funny is my favorite Danny Brown song ever. It's my favorite hip hop song.
Seriously?
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck. I mean, it is a really, really good song.
And we're talking about it's just a devastating song.
Yeah.
And just about how that song is particularly alarming because it's a song where he basically says he's fully aware that he has a serious issue with substance abuse, but he's just not he's not brave enough to face his demons and fix them.
Yeah.
And oh my God.
So vulnerable, you know.
Ooh, no, it's just that sentiment is devastating because honestly there's definitely people out there that are just like him that are well aware that they're causing themselves a lot of pain, but they just don't want to do anything. But they don't have the bravery to reach out and fix it. And that is just such a I've never heard a sentiment like that. And this record, and that's just a big reason why this thing is so fucking unique. From the way that the subject matter at its core obviously is not anything new, but it's the way it's approached from a lyrical standpoint and from a musical standpoint. I mean, fucking Gold Dust. Just the way that song it almost sounds like something you'd hear like if you were to visit a snake charmer in hell. That's what sounds.
That's what that would sound like.
It's just like it's this guitar, because it's like a sitar, but just filtered through like a very evil sounding sitar.
Gotcha.
And it has a psychedelic quality, but also being very imposing. And there's just little details throughout this record that are just like holy fucking shit. And again, it's just if you want, it's just the clearest window into Danny Brown's mind that we've gotten to date. And I think there's truly nothing like it. Like I think originality is very hard to achieve in any medium. This album is a true original. There's fucking nothing like it. And the originality combined with the cohesion combined with the message is why this record is unfucking believable. I can confirm this. If anything tops this year, I will fucking be stunned. I will be in a legit fucking state of shock. I'll be in the goddamn hospital.
All right. Well, that is a great way to wrap it up, I would say. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't even talk about Really Dough.
Really Dough is like one of the few asides on this album that's doesn't really fall under the umbrella of the things I talked about.
Okay.
But it's a great posse cut.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna front. It's the best Earl Sweatshirt verse of the last 10 years because it's the only one he was awake during.
Yeah. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Our top 10 albums of the decade. Wow, that was a long conversation.
It was.
That was a lot we went through. I'm glad we finally got it out in the air so people can tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah. Again, please make the graphic. We'll put it on all of our social media accounts, and we can just let the hate flow in, motherfuckers.
There you go.
Let it flow in. One last time, bitches.
Tell us why KOD's not on it.
Yeah, exactly. Please tell us why we stink.
Yeah.
One last time.
This has been a great 3 years. I could not have picked a better co-host. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for bringing me on, man.
Thank you guys for watching. Everyone who's ever asked me, when's the new episode coming out? Everyone who's ever asked me, everyone who's asked me in the past couple of days why the podcast is ending. Thank you for expressing some sort of interest in wanting to see this show move forward. And a special thank you to LCTV. Thank you to Dave, Makala, Pedro. Thank you to everyone who's Seth, anyone who's come on our show in the past. Anything you want to say?
I mean, a special shout out to Dave here. He's produced pretty much every episode that we've done here, and he's done a great fucking job. And we broke a really solid relationship with him. I mean, and obviously people who produced in the past, Aaron at Sound and Vision Media, yeah, he did a great job. Shout out to the Segundo family for letting us record in their fucking basement for a while. So that was nice.
Thank you to Salem State for letting us record our very first episode in the library.
A few episodes we did in the library. A special shout out also to men who said Dane Sellers in particular.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
he's again.
Dane, Tyler.
Dane, apology. Last episode when I said that McCall was the best guest we ever had, I completely shortchanged you because I had music on the brain, and McCall was the best music-related guest we had.
Yeah.
But Dane also did a great job with the movie episode we did.
Absolutely.
And we had a lot of fun doing shit with them in the past, and he helped us out. He did our first video episode, actually.
Yep.
Back in the day, so big shout out to him.
Yeah, and shout out to Jazz. Jazz was on our show a couple of years ago. We had a great interview with him. We've had JC on the show. We've had Angel. A lot of people on the show. Maceo. We also had Jeremy from I Am Because We Are, who was our very first guest.
So shout out to Henrique, who got cut.
Yeah. My bad, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Feliciano's best friend got cut off the show.
He's in the lost episode. He's all the way in the archive. I can't even. I don't know.
He also had the lost camera from the first video.
Yeah. Back when I was like
the two contributions to Feliciano that Enrique made to the show.
Back when I was editing using Audacity.
Yeah.
But
we appreciate
it. This has been As We Proceed. Make sure you guys go ahead and follow us on all our social media. It probably won't be updated for a while.
Basically, like, because Feliciano is the reason the show's going is Feliciano is
moving
going
very
back to school. He's
away.
going back to school. But if you're thinking, he might be getting out of the take business, but yours truly might be getting out of the audio and video business. But if you're like, hey, this asshole, I want to know what he has to say about things. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but hey, you might want to.
So where could they go?
MaitlandsMadness.blogspot.com. I write about movies, music, sports, all the like, mostly football. But I'm going to start doing more music stuff now because I don't have a podcast to talk about it anymore. But so if you want to read the written word, which I'm definitely more coherent and a little less angry and a lot less language. So if you want to hear the less filthy version and less filthy and more concise and coherent version of what I have to say on this show, read my
Some of the stuff that you write on there is just like, I'm like, well, I wish I could see him in person as he's writing this down.
It's not a very exciting process.
It sounds frenetic as shit, but yeah, I would absolutely.
It can be.
One of the blogs that I would definitely recommend is Chris's blog there. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's it for the show. Thank you for everyone, and until we hopefully see you again. Who knows?
Yep. We may or may not be back.
Goodbye.
Au revoir. Thank you again.